So let's go to YouTube. So, okay, we are live on YouTube. Let me mute myself here because it's really weird hearing yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and share it to Facebook.
Remind me to ask you about something to do with Zoom when we're done.
Will do. All right, so I'm gonna share it. We are live, everyone. Let me see. Okay. So we had a little workaround this morning, but I think we're good. Let me just check. Yes. Okay. Good morning, everybody.
We're live.
We are live.
We did it. We did.
We had a little bit of, I had technical difficulties this morning. For some reason, I got a pop-up about third-party videos on Facebook. So I don't know if they changed something or what, but we are on YouTube today. So hopefully, I know you didn't get the notification in the corner on Facebook, but I did share it on my page, guys. So make sure you check that out. I do have Barry Kay here today. Hello, good morning. Ooh.
Good morning. Nice to be here. And it's pretty sunny and nice here today. It looks like it's pretty nice over where you are too.
It is. Well, not really. It's like 40 something. So. Okay. But hello, good morning. This is Katie with NLFX Professional. I have Barry Kay right there with Cherry Tree Productions, and we're going to have a little chat.
Yes, looking forward to it.
So Barry, tell me a little bit about you. Who are you? What do you do? Who's Barry?
Well, related to the business, I like to entertain. If you've seen me at different events, DJ events, our paths have crossed quite a few times. I'm just full of energy. I like to have a good time. I like to entertain people, and I just like to make people feel good. I usually end, when I do seminars and stuff, I usually end with this, but I'm going to open this time. One of my favorite quotes is from The Greatest Showman, P.T. Barnum. And his quote is, it's the noblest art of making others happy. And I think the one thing I love the most about what I do, I can't even call it a job, is I get to make other people happy all the time. And I love that the most.
So with the world being closed down right now, are you doing anything right now to spread that joy, to make other people happy?
So I will tell you right off the hop, and I'm sure many of your viewers feel the same way. I really miss being in front of a live audience. So fortunately for my wife and daughter and dog, I get to entertain them all the time, and they have to put up with me.
How do they feel about that? That's the question.
Well, they keep having me back. So okay. I'll just take that as positive. We've been doing some really neat things. It's with this whole COVID-19, it's really kind of surreal. We've been walking a lot, doing 5-6 kilometers a day, sometimes more, sometimes less. But there's this there's a street in the area of town that I live in, and it's where all the big homes are. It's right on the river. And what's really interesting is the street is closed. So we like to go walking up and down that street. The road winds and turns and there's bends. It's really cool. But seeing so many people walking and no cars, it's really surreal. It's kind of like taking you back to this. I mean, we've never experienced a time where there weren't any vehicles, but it's just so peaceful and so relaxing. And we've really been enjoying that. And other than that, I mean, doing some work around the house, there were, some things that need touch-ups and a paint here and a little repair there. So we've been doing that as well, which has been a lot of fun. That's kind of the home type stuff. Right. And then for fun, just to kind of keep the brand out and, keep us exposed, if you will, in the industry. I have a radio background. I worked for a few radio stations back in the day. And again, I know we have a lot in common with so many fellow DJs and entertainers. So we thought we'd bring it back. I discovered this live stream that we can do audio with. So we created this show called On Air with Barry K. And my wife is my co-host. And every Saturday night, we host a live virtual dance party in your living room. And this is going to be our 5th week tomorrow. And what's really cool is we just been picking themes. So the first night we did retro country. The second week we did requests and shout outs and songs from Mamma Mia and Dirty Dancing. Then the week after, so this is where I got started in this club called Strawberries Nightclub. And it was an 80s retro club. It was insane. So we did an 80s Strawberries Nightclub retro a couple of weeks ago, which was incredible. I mixed almost 3/4 of an hour, which I don't really get to do a lot, as well as the type of music that we got to play from that era. And then last week was classic rock. And this week it's dancing through the decades. We do this really cool dance at parties called Dance Through the Decades, where we play a song from each decade. We do that normally towards the beginning when the dancing starts. It's great because it helps me gauge the crowd and kind of seeing what they're responding to. If they're loving the 60s, guess where I'm going back to once we hit the 20 teens, right? Yeah. So we decided to incorporate that into our show. So we're going to do 5 songs from each decade, and that should fill our time slot. People have been sending in pictures, like in our Facebook group. We have a group called On Air with Barry K. Please join it. It's really cool. And people post their photos and just having a real good time.
That sounds like so much fun. Just, that you're spreading happiness and joy that way. You're being creative and finding a different avenue for it.
Yeah. And what's really neat is, and we're not talking like tons and tons of people. I check out a lot of the live DJs mixing live on Facebook, and you see, anywhere from 5 viewers. The most I think I've seen was 125 or something like that. And I get it. You want to keep your skills fresh and you're entertaining to your specific group of friends and market. And what's really neat is, each week we've been growing. We've peaked, I think, at just around the 50-ish mark. And what's really neat about it is the comments. Thank you so much. We danced the entire time. Like, people are moving their living room furniture away, plugging into their Bluetooth speakers and sound systems. And that's really, for me, what it's all about. And we treat it like you're listening to a radio station, but with live at a dance party feel.
So how are you doing that technology-wise?
So we discovered this, a friend of mine has been doing this for quite some time. And we discovered that the website, it's a private website that handles the streaming. So we created a URL. It's called live.barryk.ca. And when you click on it, it takes you to this private site, and the player is there. We have our logo and everything, and you just click play and away you go. We've now since inserted it onto the Cherry Tree website. So you can go to cherrytreeproductions.com and just click on the on-air link there, and it takes you right there. So it's pretty easy.
So if someone wanted to get into that, they could just send you a message.
Yeah, I'll help them out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll help them out. There's lots of streaming services available. For me, this is all audio. As much as I love video and doing video parties and virtual parties, for me, it was great because with video that's a little more involved, you always have to have a smile on your face. You always have to have video content. With the audio, it allows for it's just easier to stream without any dropouts or anything like that.
Right. So aside from that, are you doing anything else to stay relevant marketing wise? I guess my first question is, what type of parties do you normally do? Do you normally do weddings, corporate events?
So the foundation of Cherry Tree for the last, this is our 19th year, is bar and bat mitzvah parties. Okay. And as you know, bar mitzvah parties are, pardon me, it's like, they're incredible experiences because it's like going to a rock concert. And we've done the simplest of bar and bat mitzvah parties where it's just me and a sound system and my assistant, to the most elaborate parties where there's video, LED video displays, sound, lighting. My biggest bar mitzvah, we had 26 people in the crew,
Wow.
which is insane. But on average, it's usually there's some sort of audio, lighting, and video component. We usually have up to 4 or 5 people. We have a couple of interactive, motivating dancers, an MC, which is myself. I do have another MC, and of course, our DJ.
So then, are there any marketing strategies right now that you're incorporating to stay relevant for 2021 or later this year?
Well, what's really interesting is, and some may agree, some might not agree. I've kind of treated this more as a little bit of a break. I was telling my wife the other day, the Cherry Tree turned 30 this year. I've spent 30 years being innovative, creative, always on. And, it's interesting because I've basically have taken a break from the being creative and innovative. I'm not saying I'm not, but just kind of been taking it easy, enjoying time with the family, enjoying we're going to be camping, just having some fun around here. My living room looks like a recording studio or a radio station. Our dining room is where we are right now. Right, I've kind of moved everything into the house, but I think later on, towards the end of summer, we'll start coming up. We've got some concepts and stuff. I'll start developing them probably at that point in time. But for right now, kind of in my mind, like, we don't know what we don't know. Every other day, the news changes and what's happening and what's going to happen. I've just kind of summed it up that basically 2020, it's a write-off. It's sad and upsetting because it's our livelihood and how we make our money and pay our bills. But it's just the reality of it. And this reality that we're in right now, or we're stuck in, we have to make the best of it and be positive. I really think that when we come out going into 2021 and the other side of this, I think we're going to see a lot more DJs working together and DJs doing a different type of networking. And that's something that I've already started on, where, you might see different DJs from different companies starting now to work together as one to kind of rebuild the industry. The industry is going to bounce back and become, in a year from now, we'll look back at this and go, we survived and it's great. But I think we're going to see a lot more relationships developing amongst DJs and their companies.
I think that's great. And, I think that's a huge takeaway from this is, as cliche as it is, we're all in this together. And I know we've been hearing that over and over and over again. So I really do believe that on the other side of this, let's make it through this together and then come out stronger. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
I agree. And, again, it's a struggle, but we'll get through it. And with our clients, we always say, if you have any questions, if you need any help thinking of how to restructure and reschedule your events, working with vendors, we're there for you. But it's the same. There's a couple of Facebook groups. I think I've joined a few of them, DJs helping DJs and that sort of stuff. And the entertainers. I think it's great that we're here to help each other. What I think is really great is now we've been categorized with the NHL, with the CFL, with big time concerts. Like, that's our category, but it's the last category that's going to come back to life.
Right. So let me think here. I generally save the last question for my son, but he did ask me this week, and I think that it's going to be next week's question. So anybody that's watching, that's on next week, you have time to prepare. If you could pick your own name, what would it be?
If I could pick my own name?
Yes.
So I'm probably going to give you the most boringest answer ever. I would pick my name because that's who I am. the persona Barry K. I mean, my real last name isn't K. That's been my stage name for the last 35 years. In fact, CRA, Revenue Canada sort of thing. It's really interesting. When I went for my mortgage on my house, they do a bureau on you, like a credit check. And I happened to see the printout sitting on the sales manager's desk, and it actually said Barry Kirschenbaum, that's my real name, AKA, also goes by Barry K, and all the different spellings. So somewhere, somehow, they know who I am. But this is the personality, right? This is who I've become, how I've developed in my persona. So yeah, I don't want to be anyone else. I like who I am.
If you could have lunch or dinner with someone fictional, non-fictional, dead or alive, who would it be?
That's a really great question. I would like to have lunch. Oh, there's quite a few. I just off the top of my head, but there's two people I'd like to sit down and have lunch with. One, Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man. And I think I'd like to sit down and spend a little time with Ryan Seacrest.
Okay. Okay. I remember Ryan Seacrest from MTV, like when I was a kid. We'd rush home from school and watch his show after on MTV. It was great.
Well, you know, watching American Idol, one of the contestants, I think this year, she was on I guess it was called Teen Idol back many, many years ago. And he was the host. I always wondered, how do you become the host of American Idol? But he's been doing this pretty much all his life. So, you know, kudos to him. And I think that's great.
So if you could sit down with your 13-year-old self, what would you tell them?
I would tell him to whatever's going to happen in your life is going to be great. So look forward to it. A couple of things I would advise against would be don't spend your money on sports cars, because I've been through quite a few. And you don't have to replace your entertainment equipment every 6 months. You already have the latest technology and the greatest technology. It doesn't have to be replaced every 6 months. Other than that, I don't think there could be a few more. I'd have to think about it. But off the top of my head, the cars and spending the money on the equipment.
I think let's touch on that for a second. Being in the industry, selling the gear, like I see all of the cool stuff like right away. So I can totally relate to that because like I see it, I want it. And it's cool, but it's everything. So much new stuff comes out so often. Quick. It's like I could have 4 warehouses full of stuff like Ben. And
what's really neat is there were a few companies they used to let me demo equipment. You know, I'd get it for a day or two to play around with it, and it wasn't enough for me. So if there was a new piece of hot equipment that came out by Pioneer or EV or whatever, I would go out and buy it, use it for 2-3 months. If I loved it, I would keep it. If I thought, okay, this is kind of cool, not really fit with my application, I would turn around and flip it. And, you know, what's really cool is equipment that I've had for 15 years. I don't think I have any more equipment from 15 years, but equipment that I've had for many, 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 many years. You would never know. You would think it was right out of the showroom, like everything is taken care of. So it's funny because some of the younger DJs or some of the DJ companies that don't do a lot of the big time production, you know, they were buying equipment from me because they were able to get this latest and greatest gear for a lot less than what they would pay for it sort of retail. And, you know, it kind of helped, again, DJs helping DJs. It kind of helped them out as well, which at the time I didn't, you know, that's not what was in my mind, but, you know, it was great that they were able to make use of it.
So Barry, what does success mean to you?
So success means to me, it's an interesting term. A lot of people have different definitions of it. My definition of success is, you know, how well I do compared to how well I could have done or could do. It's really a motivation for me to always stay on top of things, stay on top of technology, stay on top of the music, and always, remain in that moment so we can continue to grow and expand, overall.
So with that being said, for me, okay, so this week has been really difficult for me. Like I've mentally just been in a place that I just cannot get out of. And like I put on a happy face, I smile, but to be real, like this week has been really, really hard for me. So for me, I'm focusing a lot on self-care this week to make me feel good. Is there anything like that you're doing right now?
Yeah, I think it's a part and parcel with everything that we've talked about, going for walks, doing yard work. I churned up our backyard and put down some sod and seeded the backyard. Never done that before. It was kind of cool. And our on-air radio dance party that we do. I think a combination of everything. I'm going to give you a little secret. I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins. Back in the 90s, when motivational seminars were all the rage. I see a lot of DJs learning from other DJs, but if you really want to take it to the next level, you go to a Zig Ziglar or a Tony Robbins. I even went to Florida and actually worked at one of his seminars.
Wow.
And I had to sell books and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to work for Robbins Research and be the next Tony Robbins sort of thing. But one of the things is I started with the personal power course. And, it's funny. Some of it works really. I mean, I guess all of it could work. But for me, I found certain areas that worked really, really well for my personality.
Mm-hmm.
And, some of the stuff you take in stride, of course, like everything. But I learned a long time ago, where my energy comes from, how I bring it to life and bring it out. As you can see, I actually have a hard time kind of containing myself and not bouncing around, but I learned how to control my energy, how to give it to people, and how to take it back. And a lot of that comes from being in front of a live audience. And a lot of DJs will say, when I'm on stage, I get such a thrill out of it. And they're kind of doing that, right? It's you do something, the audience responds positively, it charges you up and you keep on going. I don't know that a lot of people recognize that that's what's actually happening, but when they get out and they go, "Oh my God, I had a great night tonight. It was best night ever." And and it was because they were feeding off the audience. And, I don't know if you can relate to this because you've never DJ'd or you don't.
No, I have. Yeah. My
Okay.
husband has his own company and I've DJ'd with.
Didn't know.
Yep.
So I'll ask you the question. Now, you may not know the answer, but maybe some of the viewers will know this. So, have you ever been playing a genre of music and someone comes up to the DJ booth or up to your table and says, "Hey, do you think can I make a request? Can you play this song next?" And it's already queued up and ready to go. We don't have any sixth sense or magic powers. But I think because we're in the moment, our job is to create that energy and that atmosphere. And the audience, the guests, they get into that mode as well. And they're feeling it. So when they come up to you, they're connected. And it's almost like you guys are on the same page. When I used to work in the clubs, and again, I don't profess to have any kind of special powers, but people would come up to me. And as soon as they walked up, strangers, I would say the name of a song and they go, "How did you know that was I was going to ask for that?" And again, I didn't read their mind, but we're in sync. And so that that's kind of what's really neat, how that whole, sorry, my earbud is slipping. I think that's all part of the being the, that energy makes you positive. You have something to look forward to. I'm sorry that you had a hard week. I'm giving you a virtual hug right now.
Aww.
I don't know if that helps or not, but I think it's a mindset. I think it's a mindset. I think it's a combination of a million different things. I do believe that there is a time where if you need a moment, take the moment, right? And then finish the moment and move on. And sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes it is. But I do believe that people do have to take that moment. And let me tell you, I'll never admit this publicly again, but I have my moments. Nobody ever sees them.
Right.
Because like the behind the scenes of a business and like behind the scenes of a production and everything else, it's no one's business how much money you make. It's no one's business what your experience and details that go in. So I've always been kind of private that way, and nobody typically would see me if I was down or in a bad mood. You know, and you know, this is a story that I heard a long time ago, but there was a DJ acquaintance of mine many years ago, and he was married and he was playing weddings. Well, he went through a divorce, and you know, literally 2 weeks after they separated and everything kind of fell apart, there were children involved. This guy's going out and playing weddings. Can you imagine the energy that's coming from the DJ booth, you know, while these two people are ready to start their lives together? You got to be able to, and he didn't, but you got to be able to keep it in check. You know, I can't imagine anything brutal that would happen where if I had to go on stage and perform, the show must go on and nobody in the room would have a clue. Great example. Garth Brooks came to do a concert here in Winnipeg. We went to see him, and we went the first night. One of his best friends passed away. He actually flew into Winnipeg. The band was there ready to go. The concert started probably about 45 minutes to an hour late. He flew in on a private jet and he came out and gave the performance of his life. We didn't know the reason the show was delayed until after the show, but same thing, you'd never know, because, and that again comes down to being a professional, always making sure that the guests and the clients and everything about what we're doing comes first.
So you answered two of my questions without me even asking them this time.
I read your mind.
I know. One of them was, what is some advice that you would give? And I think we covered that with that last segment. I mean, it was beautifully said. So the other one was, tell me something that people may not know about you. And I think that would be Tony Robbins.
That's one thing. And I don't really, again, I don't typically advertise that. I'll tell you a little bit of something about my company. So my real last name is actually Kirschenbaum. And actually, when I started my company in 1990, most of the young entrepreneurs at that point in time, you know, they were using their last name or their initials. And if you know of any companies from the 1990s, you'll know they use their last names. You know, it'd be Kirschenbaum Productions or my initials, BK Entertainment or something like that. So I belonged to a Jewish youth group even when I was 12 years old. And the rabbi at the synagogue kept calling me Barry Cherry Tree. And it was really funny because I hated it, but had no idea. Anyhow, later I found out that the Hebrew and German translation of Kirschenbaum is cherry tree. So, you know, German cherries are Kirschen and a baum is a tree. So when I started my company, it was a real cutesy way for me to use my last name without actually using my last name. And Cherry Tree Productions was born. So, and I know a lot of people don't know about that.
I like that. So it looks like we are almost out of time. Before I ask my final question, do you have any final thoughts for today? You
know, I hope that people remain as positive as they can. You know, we've talked about this, we're all in this together, but you know what, we're going to get through this. Take the time now to spend with, you know, the people you love and do some fun things that you haven't done before. The business is still going to be there. Like there's still going to be weddings and there's still going to be corporate events and bar and bat mitzvah parties and, you know, AV type stuff. Anything, concerts are going to come back, the CFL and NHL and, you know, National Hockey League, National Football League, and et cetera. You know, it's all going to come back. It's just, you know, I think it's important to remain safe and yeah, you know, just to try and stay positive. And if anyone wants to reach out, I'm here. I'd love to chat with you. If I can give you some of my energy, I'm going to do my best to do that. And hopefully we can get back at it pretty soon.
I love how we have touched on two of my favorite things in this conversation. I'm going to tell you what they are.
Okay.
Dirty Dancing, my ultimate favorite show ever. and hockey. I am a huge Wild fan. Huge
Oh,
Wild
that's so
fan.
nice.
So,
Cool. That's pretty awesome.
Final question for you. If the world was made up of clones of Barry, what would it look like?
Well, every party would be like the party of the year. I'll tell you that much. I don't mean that to sound conceited or anything like that. You know, I have a business degree. I have a marketing degree. The development of my company, you know, I wasn't flying by the seat of my pants. I fired my boss 25 years ago when Cherry Tree kind of started taking off. And this is all I've been doing for the last, well, 30, 30 plus years now. You know, and I think it's an experience thing. I wish I can get more exposure at some of the DJ conventions. You know, I have a business partner, Jordan Zwicker. You're going to be talking to him
On
in a couple of
Thursday.
weeks.
Yeah.
You know, I want to tell you about one other thing too, if that's okay.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you know, I think it's important that I don't have all the answers. I know what's been successful for me. And one of the big things, you know, I learned a lot also too. I've become really good friends with Peter Mary. Love the guy. He's got some great information and great experience. And he was the most like me when I started broadening my horizons. You know, before social media and DJ conventions, right? We were doing big time shows here, like it was insane. And to see other people, like-minded people doing the same things in different types, you know, with a little bit of spin-offs. But I think the most important thing is it's not what do I do that makes me successful, because that's based on my personality. It's the cool thing is between Jordan and I, but we know how to adapt those little parts of the formula to your personality. And we show you how to, I don't want this to become a seminar post, but we show you how to adapt to your personality. I think that's more important than anything else, because you could go out and do exactly what I do and it may not work for you. And for no particular reason other than it's, you know, I push the line when I'm out there. I do things that you would shake your head at and not believe how the crowd is responding. Someone else might not have a personality to pull that off. And, you know, I think that's really important. Even starting parties. Sorry, if I can tell you this one last two things. You know, for me, when we go to a party, you know, there's cocktail reception, dinner, formalities, and then the dance. And for me, you know, I like to go after the guests right at the beginning. I don't wait till 10:30, 11 o'clock. Parties go till 1 a.m. here. I don't wait till 10:30, 11 o'clock till everyone's drunk to try and get them on the dance floor. We get them right out of the gate. So I'll coach the CEO or whoever the MC is, if it's not myself. You know, when the formalities are done, everyone always says, and that concludes the formalities, right? The bar is open, the photo booth is open, you can go home if you want. That's telling people the party's over. So we instruct them to say, all right, big hand for our winners. And now I'd like to bring up Barry K in this example. And we just go right after them. And what's really magical, it doesn't matter if there's 50 people or 1,800 people, within usually a minute and a half like that, they all end up from their tables on the dance floor. That has to be another interview on how we actually do it. But we have video footage and exactly how we executed. And it's magic. Like when you see 1,800 people on the dance floor in less than a minute, it's insane. Last thing I want to tell you, and this is for all the DJs out there, sorry, the DJ of the Year contest. It starts in a couple weeks. I know Jordan's going to talk about that, but NLFX is one of the sponsors. Yay. Thank you guys so much to Ben. I know Jordan and Ben have been talking, and we're looking forward to that and getting DJs involved. So DJ of the Year, again, you'll get more information on that, and make sure you check it out. Because
Thursday, I believe at noon, I have a double whammy on Thursday. I have Sean, Big Daddy McKee at 11, and then I have Jordan at noon. So
okay, cool.
We'll talk about that then.
Awesome. Two awesome guys.
Awesome. All right, guys, if you have any questions, please write them in the comments. I will be monitoring them after the fact. I apologize for not going live on Facebook today. Technical difficulties, which I will hopefully have figured out by Monday. So again, make sure you follow us on YouTube, NLFX Pro. Head on over to Instagram, NLFX Katie, where I put replays and behind the scenes as well as bonus footage. And Barry, thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Did we have any questions or anything? Or
I don't
pretty
have
quiet?
any on YouTube right now. Let me go to. I don't have any on YouTube right now, but I will monitor after the fact. And if I can't answer something,
good.
I'll tag you in it.
All good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.